it's a big undertaking, but there should be some kind of customer loyalty and engagement strategy.
Okay, welcome back to the Marketing Playbook, presented by Details Interactive. Here you'll take away 3 game-winning marketing plays every episode to take back to your team. I'm your host, Mark Friedman, and my career has been focused on direct-to-consumer marketing, direct mail, physical retail, and digital commerce. This is episode number 78, and today's guest is Carlos Dunlap-Beard. Carlos is a longtime friend, and now I come to find he's also interested in bourbon. Professionally, he's been part of companies that have provided loyalty programs and strategies to companies for almost all of his career. This podcast was done early one morning recently, so thanks to Carlos for getting his day started on the early side with me. Before we get started, a quick thank you as always to Max Branstetter of the Wild Business Growth Podcast for producing this episode. You can reach him at max@maxpodcasting.com to help bring your podcast to life. Let's open the playbook. Ready? Break. Well, hello, everyone. Thank you for joining the Marketing Playbook podcast. Today, I'm joined by Carlos Dunlap-Beard. Carlos is the VP Business Development and Loyalty Strategy at ebbo. He spent the past 25 years cultivating a rich background in B2C and B2B engagement strategies, direct marketing, business development, customer acquisition, customer loyalty, data analysis, and strategic marketing. For ebbo, Carlos leads the business development efforts, as well as he maintains an eye for the future with ongoing loyalty strategy and vision work. A proven marketing strategist and consumer engagement thought leader, Carlos has authored dozens of articles, blog posts, and white papers featured in numerous publications and has spoken at many conferences and events. Carlos, welcome to the show.
Hey, Mark, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Nice to see you again. It's been a while, and thanks for accommodating me at a very early hour. Most of the listeners know that I'm an early morning guy, but Carlos is in Central Time, I believe. And so this is early morning, and he's sipping his coffee while he speaks.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm normally up at this time, but I'm usually not so engaged in a thoughtful conversation. Just me and the dog.
We'll tee this up and make this really easy for early morning. So one of the things I've seen, I think you have it out on your LinkedIn page. You're in a big picture right in front of Maker's Mark Distillery. Are you a bourbon guy?
Yeah, I'm absolutely a bourbon guy. I may be the bourbon guy. I was a vodka guy for most of my kind of adulthood. And then I joined Maker's Mark's ambassador program. Someone mentioned it at one point. I joined the program, but I'd never drank bourbon before. And then I thought, hey, I'm in this program. Maybe I should try it. And I tried it, and I was converted almost instantly. And that picture is funny enough of me standing in front of the Maker's Mark sign, as if I was kind of king of the world. Was this about 10 years ago when my girls were like, one was in high school and 2 were in middle school. No, 2 were in high school, 1 was in middle school. I thought, what do girls need on spring break? Oh, a trip to Louisville, and then so we did like the Louisville Slugger Museum, we did the Muhammad Ali Museum, and of course we had to do the Maker's Mark tour at the distillery. Well, at least one of us had a great time. I had a great time at that distillery tour, and that's where that picture was taken.
Oh, that's cool. I like my bourbon as well. I'm a Blanton's guy, but certainly we'll try lots of different ones. So that's a good thing. We'll have to talk more about that. We usually start the show and get kind of the first story of each of our guests, kind of where they were brought up, anything that might have suggested that you would end up in your career as knee deep in loyalty as you have.
I don't know if anything suggested it, but it was kind of a turning point. It was like the briefest of jobs that I had at a direct marketing firm. In fact, like in the mid 90s, Clarion, and they were a division of Darcy. I don't know if you remember DMBB. I took this stint over there. Took kind of a sabbatical from my marriage career, and it was my first exposure to like a data driven kind of marketing approach. The bigger ad agency, Darcy, they dominated the headlines, and Clarion was like this little stepchild that delivered projects but with measurable results. And as I said, I only stayed there for a short period of time, maybe 9 months, but it altered my thinking regarding what I wanted to do with my career and how I wanted to focus on proving out the value of the things that I did and that we did as an organization. It was a first step of thinking differently.
Okay. You had, when we were talking about the show and doing this, you made a comment on email about the first time that you and I met. And this is back in roughly 2015. I was working at Steve Madden. You were working at a company called CrowdTwist, and we were looking to build out a loyalty program. And you came in. This was, you reminded me this. This is very me. So tell tell us what I said.
Okay. Yeah, it was an interesting time. And yeah, it was 2015. I had just taken a position at CrowdTwist, and I'd been brought in to help establish a strategic consultancy and solidify CrowdTwist's like loyalty credibility. And no more than like a month after starting, we made a trip from 23rd and Park, where CrowdTwist was located, over to Queens to visit you and the Madden team. And shortly afterwards, you made the decision, thankfully, to go with CrowdTwist and to design and hopefully implement, Steve Madden's like first loyalty program. So there wasn't any kind of like strategy or consulting documents or process at CrowdTwist at the time. And again, I'd only been there less than a month. So I used some of the, my old stuff that I had from prior roles, did a little copy and paste on a program design process and kickoff document. And I just sent it to you for what I assume was like going to be a quick review. And about, that was like a morning or end of day, probably is usually how I do it. Somewhere around midday, because I remember being out to lunch with some friends. You called my cell to voice your displeasure with that sloppy document that contained like references to other brands, and it probably even had some typos in it. I don't remember the particulars, but you weren't pleased. I remember that part. I remember standing in the sun on a rooftop restaurant with you talking to me. You weren't yelling or anything. You just were voicing your displeasure. And at the end of this short but poignant conversation, you made a statement that I'll never forget. You simply said, "Don't embarrass me," and you hung up. And I was crushed. I was, and actually, I was the one who was embarrassed in that moment. And from that day, I make every effort to ensure I don't feel that way again or put other people in that position. And I don't know why I even put that in that message to you yesterday, when we were just confirming our time together today. But maybe I just wanted you to know kind of like the impact you had on me. And maybe also I needed to remind myself, as I usually do these days, to be prepared, focused and present for any kind of engagement I'm about to have.
Well, thanks for sharing that. And hopefully I was respectful.
Oh, you were, again, you didn't call me out of my name, and I appreciate that. And you didn't yell. You just were, you were to the point, and you were serious about this. You're like, "Hey man, this is a big deal for us, big deal for me." This is all the nuance I took from it. I'm recommending you guys, and you will not embarrass me. I won't have it. You need to raise your game, and it was truth.
Yeah, and one of the things we hope that people take away from this show is, and we do summarize at the end 3 key takeaways that you can bring back to your personal life or to your personal or to your professional life. And one of my mantras has always been the devil's in the details. And it's easy to sign a deal, but then can we get it executed and things like that. So one of the things that's enamored me about you is that you're a career loyalty professional. And I don't think there are a lot of guys, women out there that are career loyalty professionals. As time has progressed, it's a perception of mine. It may not be right. As time has progressed, loyalty has become a bigger, more important aspect of business. And so people kind of came into the industry, but that's not your path. Your path is you got started in it very early. So give us a short perspective of why loyalty and why you have sustained it for so long.
Yeah. And speaking of career professionals, Mike Capizzi is the gentleman who introduced me to Maker's Mark, to the Ambassadors program. He's doing some great work still in loyalty to this day. I didn't come directly into loyalty. I did do like 5 years in radio and TV, but eventually found my way to Marriott in 1993. Marriott did a lot of consumer, I mean, not consumer, I'm sorry, did no consumer business. They did a lot of employee incentives, sales channel, effectiveness type programs, workplace safety programs, but nothing to the consumers. But as I said, prior to that, in like 97-ish or so, 98, I did that short stint at Clarion and did the direct marketing stuff. And then in 99, I got wind of a business plan to start this division that focused on, consumers. And, we chose to call it Marriage Frequency Marketing because we weren't established yet. And then our CEO at the time, our chairman, Steve Marriott, didn't want to put loyalty behind it because he wasn't sure it was going to be sustainable. So I was part of this team that wrote this business plan for this Marriage Frequency Marketing Initiative, and it was approved. And I was like amongst the first like 7 people to join the team. We had no clients, no technology. We had like a 4-box process and some vaporware that we call Vault, but nothing real.
Sounds like you've been involved in a lot of vaporware, Carlos.
I think I have. I mean, sometimes on this side of the house, you sat mostly on the brand side, but on this side of the house, we have a concept and we believe, and we need a client to go with us on that journey. But you can't say, I need you to go with me on this journey. Not all the time anyway. But, we know we can pull it off. We just need someone to believe in us to do it. And that's kind of where we were. We had no clients, but, and I started as a marketing strategist. I wrote a lot of presentations, did a lot of PowerPoint, a lot of RFP responses, just trying to get that first client, which we happened to get, like Providian, I think was the first client back in the day. And they were like a subprime credit card company, like in the Bay Area. And then we went on to get like 9 of the top 10 FIs in, like Citi and Chase and Bank of America, US Bank. I mean, we were like credit card banking, like juggernauts. So it continued to evolve. I mean, I started as a strategist, then I became director of strategy, was promoted to like VP of strategy, on the senior leadership team, reporting to the president. Then I took on analytics and reporting as well, because again, strategy is nothing without data. I love data-driven strategy. I made the case, was awarded the business, rewarded that responsibility. And then, I was challenged with taking this shared services and transforming it into a consultancy. So I made it into a profit center that delivered a few extra $1 million to the top line. People were happy, life was good. But at some point, due to a few changes, I decided I needed to do something different. So I departed Marriott, though, at the end of 2008 on good terms. All worked out well. But by the time I left, we had taken a $0 business and turned it to a $500 million in revenue to Marriott. So it was like 9+ years, and it was pretty impressive. And I'm proud to be a part of that.
So then you were on your way for loyalty. As brands think about, loyalty, if they don't have one today, how do you counsel them to think about whether a loyalty program is the right thing for them to roll out?
It's not for everyone, but most brands, as far as a program like Big L Loyalty with points and rewards and, a technology platform and some program management. I mean, it's a big undertaking, but there should be some kind of customer loyalty and engagement strategy. What are we going to do? How are we going to talk to our customers? How are we going to differentiate Mark from Carlos, from John, from Sarah? There has to be something there. It's more than just collecting emails. It has to be a way you're going to communicate, and hopefully not only communicate out, but receive some kind of information back. And there are so many mechanisms to do that these days. Technology enables it. Consumers are willing, if they're getting some kind of reciprocity. It's just a matter of, are the brands going to do the right thing and do the responsible thing once they get that data? An organization has to be ready for it. In fact, I was just having this conversation with a colleague yesterday, and we were just musing about getting a client to accept and understand or agree to implementing a loyalty program it takes time. No one's just going to do it overnight. I can't call you up and say, "Hey, Mark, what are you doing over there? You ever think about a loyalty program?" You're like, "What? Man, I have 500 other priorities. I don't have time to think about this." However, if you're thinking about loyalty, we can help you. We can't talk you into it. But it takes a while because, as you know, from doing this in many different organizations and in leadership role that you've been in, you know, marketing is involved, IT is involved, CFO is involved, you know, store ops, they're involved, you know, merchandising. There are a lot of entities involved, and you can't do that quickly, but you have to do it in a manner in which everyone is in agreement and aligned on what this loyalty program needs to be, what it needs to what needs to be delivered in order for it to be considered a success. How are you going to measure it, and how are you going to support it? I mean, and that takes in a big organization with a lot of different pieces and departments, it takes time to figure that out.
You used the word measure. You know, there's really nothing that we should be doing that we don't feel like we can accurately measure. Loyalty programs are one of those things that I have found really hard to measure. You know, sure, you can measure how many points you've given and how many rewards you've given out and how often they're redeemed, but whether or not you're getting incremental sales from having the loyalty program or not seems to be a difficult challenge. So how do you help your clients and people that, you know, brands that you've talked to, how do you help them think through that level of analysis?
Yeah. Again, love these conversations because I'm not an analyst. It's something I wish I could do and be better at, but I realize I do have shortcomings there. But I love the power of data and the ability to analyze it. I know what I want, I just don't know how to always get it. So fortunately, I have people I can lean on. Measurement is important, and starting off with a baseline is one of the things I recommend more than anything else. For instance, if there's say a retailer that we're going to work with, and they've got, you know, both online, you know, brick and mortar stores, you know, they have the retail footprint, and they've got ability to capture data. Maybe they have a legacy loyalty program, or at least an email capture program, where they can again determine what your spend frequency is, you know, your trips, your AOV, all those things. I want to baseline that because that's how we know what we're doing is having a success. That's one of the ways. You know, obviously there are control groups, there's outliers, because the brand is going to say, "Hey, I was going to get those sales anyway. You know, I was going to do some amazing marketing, and I was going to do this great promotion. It was going to give me some incrementality. I already had it forecasted in the budget. So what are you doing above and beyond?" Because when you really think about what loyalty and how it's measured, loyalty, one of the things of loyalty, one of the pillars of loyalty is its ability to drive behavioral change. So if it's not driving behavioral change, it's not really loyalty. Certainly, it's not a good loyalty strategy. In order to determine if you're making you're driving behavioral change, you have to have a measurement tool, and understanding where you are or where you started and where you are today, understanding any other factors that are coming in. The only thing a loyalty program should be able to take credit for is that incrementality above and beyond what other initiatives are delivering and what the customer did prior to joining that program. So I'm a big fan of measurement, ongoing enhancements and analysis, insights, because another key thing about it, a loyalty strategy, it has to evolve. You can't just stay where you were. What if Amazon only still just sold books, right? I mean, your strategy has to evolve so that you're adding more value, delivering more value, you know, in order to make more money.
The devil is in the details. You probably have heard that phrase time and time again in your professional life. Projects get started with great intentions, but you no longer have the time to pay attention to the little things that could make the difference between success and failure. At Details Interactive, you can discuss your business with a seasoned direct-to-consumer marketing executive who's helped launch and grow web businesses and integrate multi-channel marketing initiatives. Learn more at detailsinteractive.com. We're recording this kind of towards the end of May 2023. You're out and about quite a bit, attending conferences, talking to potential clients and current clients. What are you hearing from the business climate, from CMOs and other contexts that you have?
Yeah.
Well, that's not good.
Yeah,
That's not.
it is tough, Mark. It is really tough right now. I mean, the environment and the economy and consumers' purchase behavior, their confidence, whatever index you use to measure how the economy is doing. It used to be when we talked to CMOs, now I talk to CMOs specifically, I'll just speak about myself. They were concerned with acquisition, they were concerned with retention, they were concerned with driving more. They would say things like, "Hey, I'm good at acquiring customers. I'm not as good as getting them to come back for that second and third transaction. How do I do that?" But today, I would say over the last couple of months, the conversation's been different. It's been more along the lines of, I'm just concerned that I may not have a job next month. You know, there's a lot of moving pieces here. Our resources are dwindling. I can't get priority in this, from IT to even do this if I wanted to. I'm not sure. Oh, and by the way, we just had a change at the top. Our CEO is out, and the CFO is now the interim CEO, and he's not approving anything. Those are the kind of conversations we're having today. I mean, not across the board, fortunately, but the vibe is just different right now, and the concerns are real.
Yeah, I think that's true based upon what I'm seeing, what you read in the marketplace, and certainly the apparel footwear sector is somewhat challenged. Seems like the lower end, kind of the value folks are doing okay, but above there it's definitely spotty. So let's kind of pivot a bit to your current role at ebbo. Maybe talk a little bit first about what ebbo is, formerly Claris Commerce, and your role there, and how you're trying to help brands create value.
Claris is a kind of all-in-one customer loyalty and engagement organization, a solution provider. I mean, everything from short-term promotions, which we call loyalty amplifiers, whether it's a sweepstakes or an instant win contest or a social media play or user-generated content kind of deal, or more of a traditional points-based, activity-based loyalty program, things in the kind of paid arena in terms of something we call paid enrollment, which is a kind of a one-time fee for access, which is really good for brands that are introducing new products and services and want to create a kind of a FOMO kind of culture, all the way to paid and always on kind of a subscription loyalty. So we do all those things, including all the program management, program design, first of all, implementation, program management, reporting, analysis, enhancements, all those things. So it's a full suite of services. And I think one of the things that allowed us to get here, because we were originally just focused on the paid or premium loyalty opportunities or solutions, was the acquisition of PrizeLogic in August, I think it was, of 2021, and bringing in those promotional chops, so that loyalty expertise, which more the traditional points-based type loyalty and activity loyalty. It really kind of solidified our offering and allowed us to give more and provide more value to the marketplace, and especially even our existing clients who are loving the ideas and concepts and recommendations we're making to them now on how they can, kind of supersize and evolve their current loyalty programs.
When you talk to marketers, and they may be thinking about what I'll call a premium subscription solution, what's the benefit, or the differences between traditional loyalty, you earn points kind of like, on United, and a premium loyalty program?
There are a few. The first one is, especially in the way in which we do it, a premium program is budget friendly. It usually doesn't require a big budget, if any budget. And if there is a budget needed for implementation, it gets paid back or offset, immediately, almost immediately, once the program launches. Because the premium programs that we do are cash positive usually on day one, right? So that's a big difference, because usually in a traditional loyalty program, there's a year and a half to 2 years before you get close to a break-even point, and then it's slow incremental growth. With premium loyalty, it's more like a hockey stick. The growth is tremendous. The incrementality or the behavioral change that I've spoken of is different as well. In a traditional program, you're looking at maybe a 2%, 5%, 10%, or whatever it may be increase in AOV or purchase frequency, or but with premium loyalty, that starts around 25%, and some of our clients get close to 50% increase in AOV and frequency. It's really a big deal. The other thing about premium, and the one thing that it needs to be understood, is that it's not for everyone. So when people say I can't charge my clients or my customers a fee, well, it's not for all your customers. It's only for a small percentage. And it's those who will do the mental math and determine, will I get value out of this or won't I? And those who think they will, they go in and they give it a go. And if they find they're not getting as much value, they can say, this isn't for me. I'll do more of the traditional or the free program, and I'll ride that one out. So the beauty is they can exist together. It can be this premium kind of VIP tier, or whatever name you want to give it, that's in addition to the points program or the regular program, that allows consumers to make a decision on the type of relationship they want to have with the brand.
When you think of traditional loyalty programs out there and you start talking to people, which are the brands that stand out to you that are offering real value through a traditional loyalty program?
Whew, wow, there's a lot. There are a lot of programs out there that are pretty cool. There's a lot of loyalty out there that's pretty cool. I mean, you have those who don't even have a program, like an Apple and Harley Davidson, that just have a cult-like following, and that's just crazy.
That's brand. That's their
Yeah,
brand. That
yeah,
right
that's their brand,
has the
exactly.
following, right? But
Yeah,
they're
exactly.
I'll tee it up. Just for one, I'm a United flyer. I certainly now it's easy for me because I fly out of Newark in New Jersey, big hub. They dominate the market, but I certainly look to United first because I have status, I have points, I'm building value. Are there other retailers out there that you've seen that people are thinking about it that way?
Absolutely. And the thing about the program, though, I will say real quick that a loyalty program or strategy should not just build loyalty and affinity towards the program. It needs to build it towards the brand. So I think that that's important. And sometimes we, as like loyalty practitioners or whatever we want to call ourselves, might get all hoity-toity about our great program or whatever, but it's not about the program. It's about the brand and the consumer and the relationship, between the two. As far as the programs out there, I mean, Starbucks continues to do amazing things, which also is kind of its own cult. I like what Ulta and Sephora are doing. Amex has been at it for a while, and they continue to evolve a lot with partnerships and the value they provide via partnerships and experiences. I'm a big fan of what AMC Theaters is doing. I mean, part of it is I have a little stake in it because I was part of the design and implementation of that program. I just like the way they continue to evolve that program from a paid only annual fee to a free program to now kind of a monthly kind of all you can eat menu as far as movie going. That's really helped them financially when things got really tough during the pandemic. I like what AARP is doing in their programs. I mean, it's a lot. So that's the one thing that I have concerns about them, but they're doing some good things in terms of benefits to members. From a paid or premium perspective, I really like what Coldwater Creek's, My Coldwater Rewards is about. That whole premium subscription thing and solution, and the fact that it provides those enhanced benefits to drive loyalty and spend back at the brand, as well as the program provides kind of lifestyle benefits of that members can shop at other retailers that then generate kind of like program currency that can only be spent back at Coldwater. So it kind of helps with that. I can acquire a customer, but how do I get them to come back? Well, if they have currency to spend back at your brand, they'll come back. And I really like, it's really tough sometimes if we go outside of retail. You think about like consumer goods companies. It is really tough for them. I mean, with the whole distribution channel and the way they go to market, and it gets sold by a Walmart or Target or wherever grocery store, how do they know? But I like what Johnson and Johnson's doing with their Care Club. and the fact that they are welcoming consumers, driving certain behaviors, but they're really capturing a lot of PII. They're really understanding more about their customers than they can possibly get from a survey or a focus group. Because there are surveys and communities and focus groups within the program, but there's also behaviors. There's content to be viewed. There's an incentive to provide a referral. I'm not a referral, but a testimonial, or actually to do a review. That's what I'm looking for, a product review. So I think that's pretty cool. So there's all kind of great programs out there. I mean, actually, I was in a meeting yesterday with about 10 of my colleagues, probably about 12, where we get together every 2 months and review like the top 80 programs that we're looking at. Actually, I wouldn't say top 80. Let's just say 80, because there's no really rank order. It's just a matter of we just find them interesting and we want to stay on top of what's happening, where it's happening. Because one of the things I would say is that good ideas and good strategies aren't industry or sector specific. You can find, as a retailer, you can find a great strategy, in telecom or whatever, or in the airlines or wherever it might be, that you can find a way to incorporate that if it makes sense for your brand and for your customers.
Yeah, good stuff. And, PII, personally identifiable information, that's one of the reasons why it seems that companies move towards loyalty. There's certainly, well, maybe I should pose this as a question rather than a statement, but, certainly we're trying to create brand loyalty. I don't believe you can buy loyalty from customers. You have to demonstrate value to them. But one of the reasons it seems that, brands are moving into loyalty is to capture personally identifiable information from customers as privacy laws have changed and as it's become more difficult to capture that information and know who you're talking to. So that was a soliloquy there, but true or false?
Oh, I think it's absolutely true. I think it's I think it's the right thing to do. And as long as you make the consumer aware that you're capturing information and allow them to opt into you capturing the information, as well as allow them to opt out of you holding onto their information if they don't want you to, you're usually going to be in a good place, as long as you understand the consumers have a choice and you give them the right to exercise that choice. But yeah, data is huge. And it's great for brands to actually use it and analyze it, and then alter what they do, how they do it, what they say to Mark versus what they say to Carlos. It's brilliant, because feeling recognized by a brand is, again, one of those pillars. You have to appeal to an individual's vanity and make them feel special and recognized by the strategy. And if you don't, it's not good. And you do podcasts on this. You've been in the business for a while. You've been on the retail side, but you're always thinking about, how do I engage my customers? The worst thing you can do is kind of betray trust. I mean, there's a couple of programs and a couple of brands that I like, but man, they've collected data on me for 3+ years and they don't understand me. They send me the same generic message they send everyone else, and it is annoying. It is absolutely annoying.
I think that's one of the challenges is having enough people and the tools to support the personalization and segmentation and leveraging, the data. I've told this story before. Years ago, my wife was a big shopper of our local supermarket. And, every time she would go in, in those days, you had a card. And for years, she'd go in and give this card, get the discounts, and the promotions that were out there, but they never did anything with the data. Right? They treated her like anybody else that walked into the store, until one day there was a dozen roses sitting on the front porch. And I was teasing her and said, "You must have a secret admirer." Well, sure enough, it was from the local supermarket, and they rewarded her for being a best customer. Now, that wasn't a big deal. They certainly weren't using the specificity of what she was buying and how frequently, but they knew she bought a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And, they leveraged that information. And, that got a lot of, buzz around town, because, you tell your friends and say, "Oh, well, King's, sent my wife a dozen roses." Now, there's a lot of jokes that go on with that, but, I wish more brands that had the data actually used the data.
100%.
We are down at now officially at the end of the show. I have a 2-minute drill, 7 questions, 1-word answers.
Uh-oh.
Are you ready?
Yes, I'm ready. I hope.
Okay. A brand that you admire or that inspires you.
I'm gonna say Maker's Mark.
Okay. Favorite app on your phone.
IMDb.
Last website other than Amazon that you shopped from.
Pet Care RX.
Something that you're not good at, but that you wish that you were.
Analytics.
We heard about that during the show. Charitable organization that you're passionate about.
Equal Justice Initiative.
If you had one superpower, what would it be?
Transportation. I want to be able to get from where I am to where I need to be.
Well, if you lived in New York City, you certainly would want that too. And other than family, what's your most prized possession?
My bourbon collection of over 60 bottles.
All right. Well, we're going to need some pictures of that. That's a good one. Well, Carlos, where can people reach out to you on social media if they so chose?
I'm most active on LinkedIn. I mean, Carlos Dunlap, whatever I think that's what I still get listed as. And I also have a Twitter handle, which I think is also Carlos Dunlap.
Okay.
I have an Instagram account, but I rarely, if ever, post, or actually I don't post anything on Instagram. I just watch other people's lives.
If people want to connect with you, it seems like LinkedIn is the place to do it.
Sir.
So anyway, great to see you. Thanks again very much for joining so early, and we'll catch up with you soon.
Absolutely, Mark. I really appreciate it. Great talking to you.
That's it. Today's game ball goes to Carlos Dunlap-Beard for coming on the Marketing Playbook. To me, today's 3 game-winning marketing plays were as follows. Number 1, just like the Boy Scouts, be prepared. Carlos spoke about a story from when we first met. During that conversation, I needed to have the tough conversation with a new vendor partner that helped clarify my expectations as the buyer of their services. Be prepared and be present in all of your conversations, whether that be with a client, your boss, your colleagues, or with someone that you supervise. And number 2, strategy is nothing without data. I see so many brands assume that they know what their customers want. Don't be afraid. Ask them. It's especially true when you're thinking about creating or changing a loyalty program. Ask the customers what they want to see and what they think they will respond to. You might not get all of your answers, but it's certainly better to let the data drive your strategy than making assumptions. And number 3, if you're going to start down the path of building a loyalty program, understand that this is an enterprise-wide project and that all internal teams need to be aligned. The program will touch everyone from marketing all the way to customer service and every team in between. Make sure that someone owns the program, even if you cannot have a dedicated person, but someone needs to be the point person looking out for the customer's perspective of your program. Thank you, Playbook marketers, for listening to another episode. If you want to check out more pages of the Marketing Playbook, make sure to subscribe on your favorite podcast spot and leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. Until next time, the devil is in the details.